Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.
So Candace Owens is absolutely insane.
Okay.
Like off her bonkers.
Okay.
This is disgusting and absurd and needs serious pushback.
Did she say women have dicks?
Moons ago, before they decided to establish Israel as a country, I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay? Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, and then they would find bodies, okay, across Europe, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel. There weren't Jews, okay? These were Frankists. And so just like Leo Frank killed Mary Fagan on Passover back in...
Do you know what Frankists are?
Yeah, that's the people that aren't Jews that use Jews. That basically, they used to make deals with the... even the Catholic Church, the Pope wasn't in on it. Like, there were crazy anti-Semite kind of bishops. And these Frankists that are like anti-Jews would... conspire with them to kill Jews, and the Pope had to put a stop to the pogroms they caused. So you know how Christians there's not a great okay. The Sabbateans are the first iteration of this, Sabbatai Zevi, and that's known as the biggest catastrophe in Judaism before the Holocaust. And that's when a fake Messiah came out, and his whole thing was like Rasputin, like you have to sin for salvation. There's some nonsense where you're like, yeah, you got to do really bad stuff, and then that will make the Messiah come faster. I mean, come to earth faster. Jesus.
Yes.
Okay. It was in Turkey. This guy was in Turkey, and he took like 50 to 60% of all the Jews at the time went along with this. The ones that, and the problem was back then, so many, Jews have been persecuted so much. They had a thing of not kicking anybody out. Like, we need every Jew we can get. And so they let this guy, they didn't like say, hey, you're not one of us, because it was like, we're going to be extinct. And then there was one guy that was like really a faithful like rabbi that saw through it the whole time. And I don't remember his name offhand, but it's funny. They turned against him a lot, this guy. And then this dude, Sabbatai Zevi, the Sultan in Turkey said, oh, you're the Messiah. Well, I'm going to shoot you full of arrows. And if you live, we'll know you're divine. And if not, and he goes, you don't have to do that. I'll convert to Islam. And he did. And so much like when Jesus was crucified, that was a bit of an embarrassment for a Jewish messianic movement, which is what initially Christianity was. And they had to explain how the Savior got crucified. And they did, I guess, a decent job, because you still see it around now. This is even more embarrassing. Your Messiah turned Muslim. So the people that stuck with him were the people, if I had to guess, that were really into doing weird, gross stuff. Like how Aleister Crowley is like the anti, he was he doesn't believe in the Bible, but he believes in the devil, and he has to be the opposite, but within the same thing. That's what these Sabbateans are. Years later, also they. So
what did the Sabbateans have to do with the Francophiles?
So the Frankists, Jacob Frank, the guy's name is Jacob Frank, and his daughter ended up being the new Messiah. In fact, William Brandeis of Brandeis University family, he had a locket of her. And around 1766 or 1666, I can't remember when, he also, with Simon Weishaupt, helped found a Bavarian Illuminati, this guy.
Okay, you're losing me.
They're like devil worshiper fake Jews. They're not really Jews, but you know how you can't get out of it if you're Jewish? Like, they'll say you're Jewish even if you're not. David Cross had a joke about, like, I don't want to be in this. Like, I'm sorry, you're still a Jew.
Okay.
So imagine how Christians might have been hateful towards Jews in the past. Imagine now these are way worse. Like, they hate the Jews. They're anti-Jews. Okay. Sabbatean Frankists. And that's what David Icke's always talking about when he gets accused. He's like, I'm not talking about the Jews, because he's not. The Jews get used and blamed by these people all the time. And it's a lot of really rich, powerful families.
And so she's saying that Zionism are these people. The Frank.
So I don't know about, it's so much history is involved. Like, you could barely follow when I was just scattered talking about it. So she's probably looking at this the same as me. And I don't know that thing she's saying about the murders that might have happened. Frankists are pieces of shit, but because if no one knows about this, really, they're gonna go, oh, it does sound crazy, but Go look at how we starved 500,000 kids in Iraq, and what's her name said it was worth it.
Right.
Why would it be out of the realm of possibility at all that a small group of people does thrill kills when all your leaders cackle about the murders they do in front of your face? That's what I always ask people. They go, that's conspiratorial. Have you been around for the last 20 years and watch what they do openly? You don't think they do stuff privately?
All right, let's listen to this again. I'll start from the top.
They decided to establish Israel as a country. I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay?
So I at least know that. I know that.
Yeah.
I used to think that the Holocaust happened, and then they're like, oh, we need to give Israel a state. That is not what happened. I know that Zionism goes back into the 1800s. So
it's why we have,
yeah.
Are Christians here that are the Christian Zionists? So your Pat Robertson people and your all the 80s that if you look at religious channels now, they condemn them. Prosperity Gospel, maybe you've seen.
Yes.
That's all part of the same group. It's fake. A lot of it's intel agency connected. The thing where she should like what I would include with what she's saying, because it sounds like she's picking on, sounds great. Keep in mind, this is also how America was founded. Like before we pick on Israel too much, America is also founded
on a genocide
by the genocides done by a weird club called Freemasons. And remember Kanye wore a crown of thorns. It was blasphemy.
Yeah.
There's a painting of George Washington in the rotunda where he's God. Okay.
No.
That's not blasphemy. Yeah. The rotunda in the Capitol building.
Okay.
And that was just symbolic. Okay. Well, Kanye was just symbolic with his dumb thing. So she's Catholic. So what happens is if you're going to come where you show favoritism to one of these sides, and you have to understand all these factions vying for power in the world, they're going to tell you the worst stuff about the enemy. Like if I don't like China, I'm going to tell you what's bad about China.
Right.
Somebody from China is going to tell you how America's bad. And if you only come from that perspective and don't understand the whole thing is like that, it's going to sound like you're just being crazy. But the whole thing is like that. It's not just Israel. America itself, if anyone's being reasonable, look at the history, is founded by some pretty strange people.
Okay. All right. So let me get through this.
Moons ago, before they decided to establish Israel as a country, I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay? Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, and then they would find bodies, okay, across Europe, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel. There weren't Jews, okay? These were Frankists. And so just like Leo Frank killed Mary Fagin on Passover back in 1913 or 1914, I can't remember the exact date, he did it during Passover for a reason. This Frankist cult, which is masquerading behind Jews, still participates in this shit to this day, okay? Why would you want, as a small nation that is the size of New Jersey, okay, why would you want the pedophiles to flee there? Like, why would you want the pedophiles to be procreating? Unless the nation of Israel may have been established by some Frankists. And it's looking like Theodore Herzl's family was from the exact same area in Moravia and in Bohemia where the Frankist cult was founded. Crazy when you get into his family, that like maybe Theodore Herzl, who wrote in a book that he didn't care how many Jews had to die for him to get the state of Israel, like maybe he was not actually a Torah worshiping Jew. Like, I don't know. I'm just throwing out some ideas here.
Herzl
and by throwing
out
some ideas, I mean, I've read a ton of books and I've figured it out. Okay. I am just like so over the idea that Israel is our ally and friend. If another person says that stupid statement, I'm going to personally punch you in the face. I am. It's going to be me. That's a joke. Don't take this video off of Twitter. Wink.
So what
she's just looking at one small piece of the puzzle and like blown away by it. But like, yo, go look at the founding. Again, I don't know about those crimes and stuff. I never heard of it. I know Herzl was not. He was secular. Okay, he was not a Torah. You know, you don't have to to go to Israel. You don't have to be a Torah observing Jew. I know Chabad is a Christian cult.
So she's saying. So let me just get clarity of what she's saying. She's saying that Israel was founded by Frankists. Is that what she's saying?
Right, but
and they were somehow. And what's the connection to pedophilia?
Well, Frankist did that. It's an inversion of, it's like if you were doing Satanism as an inversion of Catholicism, it's an inversion of the Torah. So, oh, don't have sex with your kids. That's a thing in the Torah. Well, we're going to do that. We're going to eat bacon and molest kids. You know, you're supposed to not do that if you're an observant Jew. You're not supposed to molest kids. A lot of it goes to Kabbalah and stuff, and that stretches into all the religions. But she's kind of telling, like, those sound like the sensational parts of the story. I don't know whether they're true or not, the murder thing, but if you're going to tell just that part of it, you're leaving like huge chunks of things out, and you're also implicating other countries you might like when you're doing that.
So according to Wikipedia, it says Frankism, also known as the Zolkara sect, was a Sabbatean religious movement that originated in the 18th and 19th centuries in Podolia, Poland. The movement was named after its founder, Jacob Frank, a charismatic figure who rejected Jewish norms and preached that his followers should transgress moral boundaries.
Yeah, that's real.
Frankism incorporated aspects of Christianity and Judaism, and at its height, it had around 50,000 followers, primarily Jews living in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Central Europe, and Eastern Europe. Frankists believed that Frank was the reincarnation of the Messianic soul and adopted his antinomic doctrine that the Messiah must go into exile, which they understood as conversion to another religion.
This is to make up for Sabbatai Sevi converting to Islam and explain why it was okay. And I think all the shapeshifter stuff you hear sounds like it's based on this, because changing your religion back then would be like turning into a lizard, you know?
So this is wild. It says Frank's heretical doctrines included deifying himself as part of a trinity and other controversial concepts such as neo-carpocration, purification through transgression.
Yeah, like Rasputin used to say.
I don't know. Any Jewish authorities in Poland excommunicated Frank and his followers. Frank was freed by the Russians in 1773 and eventually settled in Offenbach, where he dubbed himself Baron and was supported by his many followers. After Frank's death in 1791, he was succeeded by his daughter Eve, who eventually spent all the money that the Frankists had given her and was arrested for bankruptcy. I didn't know. She died in 1816, and the sect deteriorated rapidly. Descendants of those members who were baptized merged with the Roman Catholic population.
Well, they can change religion at will, so it's no big deal. So imagine, there's this cycle of victim and perpetrator thing, and it's like a gain of function research in a way, and it creates worse and worse viruses. And so that's how this got created. What they didn't say in there is I believe he renounced that at the end of his life. Actually, the whole thing, his daughter was like, "No, I'm the Messiah," and still had followers. And you can look it up. William Brandeis had a locket with her picture in his
really
stuff. Yeah. So the big lie is that these things go away. Just hey, there is no mafia. Just remember, they always said there was no mafia.
Yeah,
and you were crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, look, if you're some scumbag who's into like really perverse things, and there's a religion for you that's teaching you, you're actually courageous. You're a courageous soul doing evil to lead others to the light. Do you see how that could be attractive to when there are lots of perverts in the world who maybe want to have a spirituality? And so that exists. And I mean, it exists a lot, but it's not just a Jewish sect. There's a Christian. There's a bunch of them together. It really, at the end of the day, it's like a branch of the secret Scientology of the ultra wealthy. What is their secret thing that they're into? Like Scientology. Scientology is a knockoff, okay, of those mystery religions that go back to Egypt. And so that's what these people are in. And it's a bunch of people think that they go back to Atlantis. I view them as how Elizabeth Warren says he's Cherokee. Like, I don't think they go back to Atlantis personally. I'm just telling you what this is called, the old religion. And the old religion encompasses, we get Mark Passio on. He can explain a lot of this because he was, I told you, priest in the Church of Satan. Not now, but he explains how they think and what their deal is. It's not like Pulp Fiction stuff. I mean, there's murders and stuff, but people don't realize what a cult is. And if you look at Edward Bernays or all the politics we watch, or Kamala making a I don't know if she's doing this intentionally, but look like the Baphomet when she go, what can be and what isn't, we don't have to worry about. She kept making this, again, could be a coincidence, but this kind of stuff is embedded in everything, and especially in our governments. All those guys were Freemasons. That's a fact. Now, if you want to debunk that, you go, well, they're just in a fraternal order of guys that get dressed up in a weird thing and do a weird ceremony. Okay, why are they doing that, though? Why? Why do they do that at all? That's very strange. I don't care if you call it whatever the hell you want. Call it the Best Friends Fun Adventure Club like South Park. As soon as you got a fraternal order of real rich old weirdos outside and no one gets to know what they're doing, guess what they're going to do? The same thing every goddamn time. They're going to molest kids. They're going to do weird things that kill people. They're going to get into, like magic, how lots of rich people love magic, right?
So Candace Owens says, I don't know who needs to hear this, but so a lot of people were demanding that she get kicked off Twitter and censored. Did you see that? I saw that.
I'm sure they were, because she said blood libel. She said that very badly. She was like, blood libel. Yeah.
But I tried to get some screenshots, but I'm new to using Google Slides, and I couldn't figure out, it kept not working. So she says, I don't know who needs to hear this, but demanding I get censored, mass reporting my YouTube channel, harassing family members and work colleagues, plus launching smears is kind of maybe proving my exact point.
Well, I didn't know what the point was.
I don't know what the point is either. So here, so this guy says, let me bring this down. Can you bring this down? Make it smaller? Oh, here we go. Yeah. So this guy, John Jackman, says Candace Owens is lying to you. The Bolsheviks and Israel are the opposite in every single way. The Bolsheviks were for debt cancellation and freeing the nation from the grip of internet. But that's not what she's really talking about here, right?
No, she on your show.
On my show, she was saying that.
And she said that they invented the concentration camp. No, that's not true. Cecil Rhodes and the gang did that in South Africa during the Boer War. I'm right about that. I think some viewers wrote that.
I looked that up, and you were right about that. Yeah.
So where she's coming from, she converted to Catholicism, I think, fairly recently. And I've been noticing a thing where when people convert to a religion, they find all this bad stuff about somebody else's religion. And you might want to take a look at your own thing, because you can't, one thing I've learned from studying this stuff, and that's why commies love the dialectic, which is an occult thing, by the way. That's true. It's from the occult, but it's like these things happen like gain of function. Like there's all these pressures, and it's like an arms race, and you get these terrible things out of all these crimes all these groups do, like religions that are like satanic, to use a catch-all phrase. It's just the Jesuits are a creepy ass CIA of the Catholics, and they're into some bad stuff. So, for example, you had that guy exposing Sound of Freedom, right?
Yeah,
you had that guy expose that, and boy, that was great, because that dude's preying on Christians. I see him pop up on other things, and Christians fall for it. They fall for it like they fall for Nigerian email scams, and like. Whatever the thing is you believe in, if you're Bolshevik, you should look at the worst of your own thing and put it in a context with what everyone else is saying. And then you'll see it really isn't about these labels of these religions at all. She didn't say the Jews, so that's not anti-Semitic. She said they were hiding behind the Jews. The way she's explaining it, people have a wall of like, what, Jewish space lasers? People are waiting to say Jewish space lasers to you when you'd explain things like an idiot. And I'm not calling her an idiot. She's smart, but that's like a bad, giddy way to explain that. I mean, I'm not much better at explaining stuff, but I know that, like, I'm not like America's going to triumph and we're going to be the good. As soon as people have that base belief, it's like, why bother doing research, dude? You're already screwed. You're already suckered. You already been suckered. You got to look at the whole thing.
Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.